Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. First I want to start off just thanking all the new subscribers and the views. I had my first video hit 1,000 views, so the first one to hit 1,000 was the beginning of my neighbor's E30 convertible series. I want to thank everybody for that, and I'm on the verge of breaking 100 subscribers. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone watching and subscribing. Gives me some confidence to keep the channel going. So today we're actually going to be back on the 85 318i that I bought for myself. So finally be able to get one of my own projects knocked out, which would be good. So here we have the rear subframe. Previous video I took this out. This is actually out of the parts car, the 91 318i. The reason I kept this one and the rear trailing arms is rear disc conversion and sway bar conversion. The 85 does not have rear sway bar and came with drum brakes, so we'll have four-wheel disc brakes once we get this all back together. So this was in really nice shape. Again, I can't say how nice it is working on cars that are here in the South. There was absolutely no rust on this whatsoever, just grease and dust from being on the road for how many years that that car was driven and sat and whatnot. So I just scrubbed it down, hit it with some engine paint. Should be good enough to throw it back in. Again, I'm not doing a full restoration on this car, just trying to more of a refresherization. So while I have it out, I also put some bushings in it. I bought some Revshift 95A durometer subframe bushings. It also came with a kit for the trailing arms as well, so we'll get that in. I haven't cleaned up the trailing arms yet. That's a project for another day, but I at least want to get this started. So a couple notes. The old bushings, there are tons and tons of ways. Many YouTubers show many different ways to get them out. You can burn them, which is really smelly and gross. Hint, if you do burn them out, what you want to do basically is heat up this outer edge, and you're going to watch for the rubber to start to bubble. As it starts bubbling out, kind of like toothpaste when you squeeze the tube, it's soft enough to get out, and then you just support the cross member or the subframe and just whack it out with a hammer. Again, it's stinky, it's smelly. Don't wear shorts. When I did the subframe on the E46, I burned them out, and when I whacked it with a hammer, some of that goo came flying out on my leg. That was not fun. So I really don't recommend wearing shorts if you're going to burn them out. These were actually really easy. I just put them, I've got a 20-ton shot press. I just set it up in there, supported the subframe just under here, under the press. Then the other end, put a ladder underneath it just so it was stable, and a couple cranks down through the top of the bushing. They pop right out. So that was really easy. Some other people, what they'll do is they'll take a hole saw, and that just fits inside this inner ring. Hole saw down through the bushing, pound it out. That leaves the outer race. And then what you got to do is actually score the race, and then cut a little section out, fold it over, and they pop out. But actually, now that I say that, I think these don't have the race, so you probably do just cut them out. Yeah. So here's the old mount. So what you do is just with the hole saw, go down, cut that out so it has some wiggle room. They should pop right out. These bushings have the outer race, in which some people will hole saw, then cut the race out. So like I said, this just put in the press with a socket around this and pushed it right out. So super simple. For the new bushings to go in, they come packaged together on this center pin, and you can see I almost thought there was something wrong because these won't separate it. I mean, I can't do it with one hand. I certainly couldn't do it with both hands. I'm like, there's no way that this is gonna press through here. Like, what's going on? So actually what it is, all you have to do is just drive this center pin out, and then they will pull apart. Again, this one I can't do it by my hand, but I'll show you real quick. How to hammer these out, basically just put it on top of a socket with another socket on here. I don't know if I'll be able to do this one-handed. Nope. Let me put the camera down, get you set up, and I'll show you how to drive that out. Okay, I think this should work. So again, I just have a socket down here, just somewhere for this pin to go to once you start hammering it out. Well, we can do it either way. 6 1/2, half a dozen the other. You just lightly tap. And there you go. Now it's all pulled apart. I'm gonna reset this one back through. I might actually lube up, pull this pin all the way out and lube it on both sides so it doesn't squeak. I know we're gonna lube the bushing itself, but I might lube this too. I don't think it's gonna move around, make noise, but we'll do that. I'll get the other one popped out as well. Then these, you see on the bushing themselves, they have some indexes. Inside the subframe itself are some index marks as well. So you wanna line those up. And then I'm just gonna use a C-clamp to kind of compress that in. Let me get this stuff lubed up. I'll grab the clamp and we'll show you how to press those in real quick. All right, so ready to start putting these bushings in. I've got them both lubed up. You'll notice that one has got a thicker base than the other. The thicker base goes on the bottom, thinner goes on the top. So you want to make sure that you orient them the correct way. And like I said, you can see those ridges inside. You want to make sure you line that up. And this one actually just slides right in. So I'm not going to need the C-clamp really at all. I'll take the other one. Make sure we got them lined up here. Seemed like it did. And of course, you want to make sure those inner bores are nice and clean. Clean all that out before I painted it. I did leave the paint in there. I don't think it's really going to hurt anything. Obviously, it slides in just fine. This doesn't rotate around, so you know, it shouldn't be a big problem. One thing I will add, this lube, there's enough to do all 4 bushings. Really not enough to do that pin. So I wouldn't recommend using that on the pin. I did the other side. You can see here, you got the pin all set. It should be flush on the bottom. You see it's flush on the bottom of that bushing and protruding proud on the top. That's how the old one was. You see that it's flush with the bottom, proud on the top. And of course, when you go to install, you put the washer on. I forget what it goes, top or bottom. But we'll make sure that we use that. It looks like it's the top, so it's flush all the way. And all I really need to do with this now is just get that pin in. Like I said, it should just drive in just fine. You might have to play with the bushing a little bit, just to make sure it doesn't push the bottom bushing out. Okay, got just a little bit more to go. Yep, perfect. You see we're now flush with the bottom. So the subframe is actually all set to go back in the car. I'm gonna wait till I get everything fully back assembled. It's a lot easier to put it in with the diff bolted in place. That needs to be repainted as well. And I've got to rebuild the CV shaft because both boots are torn on that. So I need to, next I'm going to grab the rear trailing arms, get them tore down because they still have the rotors and caliper brackets on it. Get that tore down, scrubbed up, get a lick of paint on them, get the old bushings out, paint them up, and then we'll be ready to put these bushings in. The Revshift bushings for that as well. Little tool that I've come across. I guess it's not really a tool. This is a little clothes rack, mobile clothes rack from Walmart. They run, I don't know, 10, 12 bucks. They make good paint stands. So you just get some of these hooks, these S hooks from Walmart as well. A couple bucks. You can hang stuff. I've hung the entire E46 subframe off that. It'll handle some weight. Obviously, you need to be a little bit careful. You got some weight on there. You know, this a little flimsy. The bottom will come out a little bit. So you just got to be careful with it. But it works really great. Hang stuff off of the hang dry once you've spray painted. Again, I'm just using rattle can. I'm not gonna break out the big gun for this small little job. No one's ever gonna see it. I just want to get it cleaned up. I like trying to put things back a little better than they were when they came out. So I'm gonna stop here, get this out of the way, start disassembling the trailing arms and get them ready for paint so we can keep moving on, and hopefully by the weekend we get the subframe back into the car. And we got a lot more projects on the way for the E30. Bought myself a little toy. Not a great welder, but I'll learn. These had some pretty decent reviews, and we got a couple little patches in the rear of the floor of the E30 to patch, and then the battery tray is pretty bad in this car, so we'll replace that as well. But other than that, I'm gonna cut this right here, and I'll bring you back once we start pulling apart the trailing arm. All right, so we got our, let's see, this looks like the driver rear trailing arm that we're gonna disassemble. So a couple things we need to remove, obviously, just this spring seat will pop off. I'm gonna pull our ABS sensor. I won't need that. And I think we'll just leave it open. I think the harness itself, yeah, the harness itself is in good shape. So I mean, the end's a little wonky, but it'll still plug in. I'll keep the sensor just in case I have a project that needs it. That is just an Allen head. We're gonna pull this line off so we can get the caliper and the bracket off. I'm not gonna bother separating the caliper from the bracket at this point. I already have the pads out. I'm just gonna pull it off as an assembly, because what we wanna work on is the controlling arm itself. As you can see, this is really, really clean. And there's a couple little spots, surface rust. I'm not worried about that. We'll just get it cleaned up, throw a lick of paint on it. Then we're gonna work on getting these bushings out. So now that I'm looking at it, I don't think I'll be able to press it in my press. So I'll have to, what I've seen also them do, I don't want to worry about burning it out, because it's just, like I said, it's a mess, it's a pain in the ass. Although I'm here, so maybe I will. I don't know. But put some all rod through it, some washers, and that basically sucks the bushing out of the bore. So I might see about doing that. That might be the ticket to get those out. I got 2 to practice on, so we'll see what works the best. Then we'll come around, get the rotor off. Obviously these are paperweights. I won't be using those. I mean, maybe I'll just throw something on to roll it. Bent the shield a little when I moved it around. We can bend that back. Again, scuff and shoot, make sure everything looks good. We'll need to get some soft lines. I got the soft lines on the car side. That actually is from this brake line goes to the car. There's a soft line. I forgot about these. Some reason in my head I was thinking, since there's a soft line there, that this might be hard line, but obviously it's not. So why don't we start getting this hard line off? That should be pretty simple. Whenever you're working brake lines, always use line wrenches, at least to get it loose. You're gonna round it off, and it's just not gonna be a good day. So it should be the 11. And I'm gonna need a wrench to hold it, so be right back. All right, so yeah, we got the 11 mil on the line itself. It's a 14 on the soft side. Oh, I should spray these with some penetrant, but ooh, that was not a good feeling. So despite the line wrench, looks like we're gonna round this off, but it's just not good. The other end of this line is a mess too, so I might replace that. See if I can hold it here. Try to turn it with the hose side. Oh, did it go? Oh, it did. Nice. All right, so just finish loosening this up. We'll be able to pull the caliper off. Remember not to lose that little spring bracket that keeps tension on the line itself, so this doesn't come loose due to vibrations. So we'll want to keep that handy. And this just slides out. This hard line is just some clips. Now, while we're looking at it, why don't we pop this ABS sensor off? There's there's a lot of crap in there. So top tip, guys, when you're using Allen head sockets and Torx, E-Torx, stuff gets in the recesses. So give them some love tap with your hammer. I'm not gonna walk back and get my actual hammer, but you hear it when it bottoms out. Then you know you got engagement. Otherwise, you're gonna just strip it out. All right, so now we can just loosen that up. Actually, just cracked it. It came right loose. That might need a little persuasion to come out of the hole. Like sometimes get kind of sticky in there. Get that out. Oh, actually, it came out really nice. How about that? Again, love working on stuff from the south. Oh, it's so nice and easy. I'll just get that out of the way here so I don't continue to mess it up. All right. So the caliper now can come off. There are just 2 bolts here and here, 17 millimeter. Actually, I already have them loose from when I started pulling this, because I don't know if you remember when I was going to pull the subframe. I was going to pull it all apart. I thought, well, why? Because it's just so much easier to store when it's all together. So this was already loose, so I can just undo it by hand. The other side is still tight. All right, just about loose. And what I always like to do, especially when I'm not putting something back together right away, is keep the hardware where it goes, and you're not running around wondering where that stupid bolt is. Just put them right back in the caliper bracket. You don't lose it. We'll go ahead and we'll take this, clean it up as another project. I might see what the seals are. And new boots and whatnot. I mean, they're in good shape. They're not leaking. They just need to be cleaned up. Then we'll have to get new hoses as well. So that is all set. Let's see. I think the next step here, just get this rotor off. See, I still have the retaining bolts in there, so we're gonna take that. It's the same size as the ABS sensor. And again, guys, when you're working on these hex or the Allen head, Torx, E-Torx, give them a couple love taps. This has already been off, so I know that I wasn't going to have any engagement issues. Don't want to lose that. There you go. This comes right off. Now you can see we got our drum brakes set up. The shoe's actually looking in really good shape, so we are going to leave that alone. Or we'll save all that stuff. I don't see any reason to service the springs and whatnot. I'm just gonna get some pliers. So you got some neighbor kids walking by making noise. We're just gonna grab a pry bar, pop the springs off, and then these 2 circular ones. I think you can actually go in. I don't think you'll be able to go in through the hub, but I'll just grab it from the side. It's just a twist and they pop off, and you can take your shoes off. This would be all torn down. All right, so let's get this top spring out. We'll try it with a pry bar first. We do make some tools that you can use, make it a little bit easier. This is just too petite to do it with that big old thing. Let's see if I can get in here. My screwdriver. There we go. Popped off. And there's one on the bottom as well that I don't think you're gonna be able to see. But trust me, I'm doing the same thing. There we go, that's off. You see, you got both springs off. They look identical. We'll just clean them up with some brake clean. They're good to go back on once we reassemble. Another tip as you're doing this, guys, if you haven't done it before and you're not familiar, do one set at a time. That way you have a mirrored image of the way that it goes back together. Obviously, I'm recording this too. You can take pictures, but saves you some time and aggravation trying to figure out how this all went back together. Now, these are actually pretty simple setups. So, but if you're doing drum brakes, they can be kind of a nightmare. Newer drums are a lot better. Just a twist and pops off. So as you see on the head of this, you see a little plus, and where's my other half of it? The cap that's on it, basically you're pushing against the spring, pushing it down, twisting the cap so it pops off. It looks like they dropped the cap somewhere, so I'll have to find that as we clean up. We can go ahead and get the other shoe off. See if I can get you in here. It's hard trying to get you guys a good angle. So there we go. So you see this cap here, basically I'm pushing that inward towards the face of this dust shield, then give it a little twist and it pops off that spring. Sometimes it helps to put your finger behind to hold that pin. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get it just right. There we go, and she's off. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of something else. So actually, this is the side. Oh, that's actually handy. I don't know if you'll be able to see. That's a hex head. I guess I could have gotten a hex in there and done the same thing, pushed and twisted. That's actually a lot nicer. So this T actually goes through the backing plate. That's what holds it on. So you're pushing it in against the backing plate, twisting, and then popping it out. So that's cool. I didn't see that before. So that'll make it a little easier putting back in, because it is a little tough getting in there. You know, you can use some bendy pliers too, get in hard to reach areas. Like I said, you know, this dust shield is a little bent, but we can straighten that out. Usually what I do is just, not usually pliers, usually crescent wrench. They work really well. You just reel them in to the size of the metal, get it near where you want. You got tons of room out here right now that I can kind of hammer dolly it out as well. So we'll clean that up. We'll make it look pretty again. That's about it for disassembly. You really can't take this backing plate off unless you're going to pull this hub apart. And I don't feel any reason to put bearings in it. Really no noise. It spins nice and free. So I don't, you know, I'm all about doing preventative maintenance and whatnot, but they feel good, and these aren't the most fun to replace anyways. I did it on my E46 and these look about the same. So the only other thing, I'll get you back in the stand here, that we have to do, let's get this flip back upside down. I'm just moving some of the stuff back out of the way so we got it. So, sorry about that, just whipped the camera. All right, so we got to get this parking brake cable out of here. So that's going to be our next step. Actually, maybe we'll pop this line out. That's the only other thing that's really on here. I'm going to try to spread this out. Be careful you don't break the plastics. There she goes. Come on, baby. Yeah, maybe I'll work on that off camera so I'm in a better position, not trying to reach around the camera. So on the bottom side of this, we've got the mechanism for the parking brake, and basically that's just going to slide. You're going to open it up and get it off the cable itself. There we go. Now we got some slack. Oh, this is interesting. Usually the cables just unpin. Oh, okay, so there's just a little dowel. So push that out. So that comes out. Then we slide off the cable. Now we have our adjuster, and the way this works, basically this sits in with a shoe on either side of it, and as you pull the parking brake, it pulls this out, pushes the shoe out against the inside of that rotor. So it's a pretty simple system, works well. Now we got our parking brake cable out. You notice I did cut this one off. I did find out that the cables on the 91 are the same as the drum brake version. So I just cut these to make it simple. The other ones work good, and they're really cheap if I need them, so not a big deal. So all right, so I think we got everything apart here, got it kind of laid out. I'll show you here a second how this all lays out. Move some stuff out of the way. Let's see if I can get this stupid thing off. I'll do that in a second off camera. But yeah, everything is disassembled here. I just need to get the spring pad off, get this line off, work on those bushings, and then we can start, you know, straighten the dust shield out, sanding things down, getting this grime off. What worked on the subframe was just a wire wheel. So that worked really well. Here, actually, I'll flip this over real quick. So this bracket here is your sway bar link connect. The drum brake trailing arm does not have this provision. I don't know if there's even a spot. I think this it cuts right in. There's no spot to actually mount that, so you have to replace the entire trailing arm. I suppose you could weld something on, but you know, there's enough of these things out there to get parts. So the bearing feels really good. I'm not worried about doing that. We'll straighten out that backing plate, clean this up, hit it with a lick of paint, and get those bushings out. Then we'll be ready to go back together. I'll probably assemble the brakes back on the car. I think it'd be a little easier with it kind of being held in place. So here is a little exploded view of how these springs went. So up top you got your star adjuster. As you spin that in place, it pushes the shoes in and out. That gives you your brakes. And again, this bottom piece goes in well this way if we're looking from the hub side, and again it just pulls on this to push the shoes out, just like if you were stepping on the brake. And we got our two springs, our two retainers. So pretty simple system. And here is the inside of the rotor, and this is the surface that those drum shoes ride against to give you the parking brake. And again, you know, this rotor surface is for your service brakes. We'll make sure we don't lose all these little bits. I'll probably grab a baggie, throw them in so we don't lose that stuff, and we're good to go. Now I just need to rinse and repeat on the other side. And installation is the reverse of removal. So all right, I will bring you back when we get some more progress done. All right, guys, so I'm gonna start pulling these bushings out of the control arms. Again, I didn't want to do the fire routine. I mean, it does work, but it's smelly and it's gross. This works nice and easy. So basically what I've got is some 7/16 threaded rod. This is a 3-foot section. You could probably get away with a 2. I just wanted to make sure I had enough in case I measure wrong or remember wrong, whatever. And also if it breaks, I might have some usable leftover. I did buy a second one just again to make sure that I had enough. So what you're going to do is so you're putting the thread all the way through the control arm. On the bushing that you want to push out, you need a washer to go against the bushing itself, and that butts right up against the sleeve inside the bushing, and that's what pushes it out. So then you're going to double nut on this side, a nut and a washer against the bushing that you're prying against, and then a double nut on here. And this is where you're going to actually use to turn. If you use a shorter rod, you might be able to get an impact or a socket on there. This works. I mean, it's slow, but it works. Again, you're just going to hold this inside one and start to turn, and you'll start pushing that bushing out. I won't make you watch the whole thing, but it's pretty simple. And once you get done, you got to disassemble, flip it to the other side. One key thing though is you're going to want to basically support the end that you pull the bushing out of, so you have something to keep this threaded rod from just flopping around and torquing. So basically all I did is I just took one of the old bushings and just put it in the grinding wheel, turn it down until it slides in real nice and easy. So it'll just go in there, won't get stuck, it'll support the rod, keep it from twisting, bending, snapping hopefully. I did one side already, it worked really well. So let me get this one pulled out. I'll bring you back when we switch it around and go from there. All right, just wanted to bring you back right at the end here. Just took me a couple minutes. Sometimes you might have to step on the arm to keep it still, moving around. If you're in a rusty, crusty environment, you might want to heat this stuff up, soak it. This is a nice clean piece. And the bushings are actually in pretty decent shape. I don't know if someone put bushings in this at some point. If I find my glasses, I'll look to see if I can see any date codes on these. You'll see the blue writing. This is off that blue or the black parts car. I went over in a walk around how much stuff on that thing was replaced for a former accident that wasn't on any record. They replaced a recorder, 3 of the 4 doors, a front fender, rear bumper, trunk lid, and the entire rear subframe. So that thing was whacked pretty good. And then the guy I bought it from drove it in the back of somebody. So that car was pretty messed. The floors are all crunched in. The front apron under the fender on the passenger side was crushed in. That wasn't repaired. There was a lot going on in that car, so I feel bad for scrapping it, but there wasn't much use out of it anymore. But anyway, back to our task at hand. So let's get this bushing the rest of the way out. My hands stop shaking. So now that we're almost out, this thing moves pretty smooth. It should pop out here in just a second. Like I said, if you cut this thread rod a little shorter, you can get a socket on it, breaker bar. From what I'm seeing, they don't really like using, or the impacts don't really work too well. Maybe get one of those real nice Milwaukee's, but I just have cheap Hobo Freight ones, so it works for what I need it for now. But I might not do this one. So we're almost popped out. Yep, there we go. Now we're out. So I'll go ahead, disassemble this. We'll flip it over. I'll show you where that other bushing goes, and we will go from there. All right, so I got us most of the way set up here. You want to leave a little all thread sticking out on the end, again, just to keep this stabilized from flopping around as we start turning. This I have out of adjustment yet. We're going to back it up all the way to here. I just left it loose so I can kind of move things around and show you this is the bushing that I tore down, so it fits inside here. Real nice and easy, comes in and out. You want to also make sure you leave enough room here to here that you can push the rod through. So you need at least the length of what the bushing is to pop out. So we'll just go ahead and line this up. It doesn't have to be super snug, but we want these two tight against each other and these two tight against each other. And then we can go ahead and start turning. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I won't make you watch because it's pretty boring, but it works really well. I'll show you again as we finish up. And then all you really need to do is start scrubbing this down a little bit and hit it with the paint. All right, you can see we're about halfway through, a little past half, I suppose. Once you get there, it's a lot easier to turn and get it to pop out, so there's a lot less friction once that bushing's halfway out. So just keep twisting a couple more times, and this thing should be all the way out. You probably end up whacking it with a hammer too, pop it out, but here doing it this way, so just keep on keeping on. You guys are probably cringing with me using the crescent wrench, but I only have one 11/16 box wrench. I don't have a lot of stuff anymore, so I'm using what I got. Come on. There we go. I got this thing backed off. Oh, we're out. No wonders why it backed off or popped off. All right, so now we got our bushing out. We can go ahead and just start disassembling this. And then this part is done. Like I said, I just need to scuff and shoot, and then we can start reassembly.